thought we'd talk about money and sort of balance of power, which is a really kind of sort of sound like I'm talking about the government, and really sort of how we talk to each other and how, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's kind of like you live by the sword and you die by the sword. That probably sounds bad, but
no, I don't think it sounds bad. I think that also the other thing we want to talk about is when is it a good time to get more help? You know, when we wrote Thrive, this was a program put together for families that are either in great shape and they want to be in better shape, understanding each other, or they're struggling a little bit, or they just want to learn about each other a little bit more. That's what Thrive is about. So we're encountering some families that I think, and I've told those families, it's time to seek more professional help. You know, Erik and I are peer counselors. We've been through a lot. We've taught a lot. We've got a lot of experience in working with families. But there definitely comes a time when I think that we're in a spot where we're like, okay, that's something that you really need to seek some professional help for. And usually we're talking about situations like stuff from childhood that you're having a really hard time processing that's really, really affecting your relationship, and you're maybe not willing to let go of it, because that's where I think the problem is. I think it's not, you know, if you've got stuff that affected you as a child or in a previous marriage, I think that if you're ready to let go of it and you're ready to walk on, then, you know, I think that that's perfect. Then you're in a great spot. But I think that if you've got stuff that's sort of like reoccurring poop that keeps getting stuck to the bottom of your shoe.
If you find that you're putting other people's faces from your past onto the people that are around you, that can be
like
a big problem. Like, oh, you're
your dad's face on your husband, or your mom's face on your wife, or
an ex-wife or husband on the current one, or
that one's really hard. And you know, when Erik and I first got married, I never put my ex's face on his, but there were definitely some times where I was like stressed out and worried, oh no, he's going to be mad, because of my experience with my ex-husband and things that made him mad. And it took us probably a year.
Yeah.
And a lot of patience on both of our parts of being in a spot where we were like, okay, that's not going to make him mad. That's so silly that I would have thought that. But also then too, because I came from a broken home and then a broken marriage. And so I was really trying to figure out, what does a really good marriage look like? And so I had a lot of really good examples, a lot of good friends that had really strong marriages. Erik's parents don't have a awesome marriage, but they were together, and you kids are not horrible children. And so, you know, we had some learning experiences there. But I think that when we're looking at, and some of the things we're going to talk about tonight with regards to money, when we're talking about sort of systemic things that keep coming up over and over again in your marriage, you know, same hurts, same patterns, same face that you might be putting on your wife. Like, darn it, she just spends all my money just like my mom did to my dad. Or, man, he just acts just like my dad. And, you know, that when you're doing that kind of thing, or my ex.
Or my wife won't let me do anything.
Oh, yes, I love that one. I love my wife controls everything. So sad sometimes. We've known a lot of people that's been the reality in their situation. And we don't want that to be your reality. You know, again, we put Thrive together because we wanted families to be, you know, thriving and happy and have a good time. We have a really good time together. I mean, we have bumps and scrapes and kids that don't always behave, and, you know, situations that we're going to spend some time in videos talking about in the next few weeks. But we, at the core of it, we really love each other, like deeply from the heart. All of us do. And our kids do. All 5 of them. They've all had bumps and scrapes and times that I've not wanted to be with them. But you know what? We all love each other. We all really want to be together. And that's my prayer for you, is that you can be in that place of not just you and your partner wanting to be together, but your children all wanting to be together. And I think that's really important. That's a really important step here. So should we talk about money?
Mm-hmm.
Money's a hard one. A lot of people fight about money. And I don't think we've ever fought about money.
No, I mean, I think it was an adjustment, me being single until I was 31, and then
Right.
not really having to think about how I spent it affecting anyone other than myself.
Plus, you didn't go just, oh, no, we don't have any kids. You went to, oh, I get to support a family with, at the time, 3 children. And sort of how you wrangled that. I do remember an early conversation when we were getting engaged, and you were working at the newspaper, and you were kind of embarrassed about how little money you made at the paper. Because that was that really was a thankless job. It seems like you brought in like $1,000 a month or $1,100 or something like that. That just in his mind, it felt like super woefully inadequate. But I had child support that was coming with those children, so it wasn't as inadequate. Sorry, I gotta switch arms, or my arm might fall off.
Oh.
It wasn't as inadequate as you might have thought, and so we had those initial conversations about how we're going to do this. And really we've found, and this is after I had, again, unhealthy relationship with my ex and super unhealthy relationship with money. Super unhealthy. And so he and I were never on the same page with money. Erik and I have found that we have one account, 2 accounts. We've got one that rent comes out of and utilities often come out of, but then we have one account, and we talk to each other every day about those finances. Every day. There isn't, and it's not that, there's not a dime that I spend that he doesn't know about, or vice versa. And it's not that I'm asking for permission or he's asking for permission. It's more like, hey, did we get that bill paid? Because I want to make sure before I go out and spend X, Y, and Z that we're in good shape.
Yeah.
And so, and we have had, go ahead, what were you going to say?
Yeah, it's just
sort of checking in with each other.
When I hear about people with separate accounts, but they share the same responsibilities, I guess that seems like a headache to me.
It is. I think it's a
Then
headache too.
Then you get like the tit for tat. Well, I watch the kids while I go to work. Well, this and that, and then once you start fighting about that, then you're splitting up the forks and knives and the and you're arguing about, why did you drive 3 miles down the street to do this? And, that cost me $3.
Right.
And
Absolutely. And I think that's a really important distinction that I want to make here. And I want you to listen. If you are playing the tit for tat game, if you are playing well, it's my money because I'm the one who works 40 hours a week and she just stays at home, I want you to stop. This should be, honestly, a major humbling for you. Your wife or your partner spends a hell of a lot of time with those kids. Not just a heck of a lot, a hell of a lot. All of her energy, all day long. Sometimes you come home and it looks like that house is destroyed, and you know what the heck she's been doing all day. You're in your head inventing that she said on Facebook. Sometimes moms do. Sometimes moms struggle with things like that. And hopefully if it's a mom that's been working with me, that's not necessarily what's going on. But sometimes those kids are destroying that house all day long, and you didn't see the worst of it. You just saw what was left over when you got home. So I want you to stop and think about, while you may have slaved listening to somebody crack the whip on your back all day long, so did she. She cooked meals for them. She made sure they didn't die. She did their laundry and probably your laundry, and she did her best to keep that house in order. So I want you to think about that before you say it's my money and that's how I'm going to spend it sentence. Don't say it. It's not pretty. And those marriages really struggle. Really struggle. If you want to have a smoking hot marriage, and I'm talking smoking hot between the sheets, in the bedroom, having a good time, wanting to be together, not just, I don't just love Erik. I'm in love with Erik. And there's a huge difference between loving him and being in love with him. I love my neighbor. I love my best friend. I love our minister, but I'm in love with my husband. There's a huge difference. And if you can't say right now, I'm in love with my partner, then you got to step back and go, wait a minute, what's going on here? Because the money thing, I think is super sad. Super sad. And we've worked with a couple of couples lately that I've seriously thought, how are you still together? Because one couple in particular, and it makes my heart hurt for her, she has to call her mom and ask her mom for money in order to get things for her child. It's not just her child, it's their child. It's not, and so that makes my heart hurt to know that in order to get things. Now, honestly, if one of my grown children had said, my husband won't pay for this, you know what? He would be on the phone with the husband. This is not right. You brought this child into the world. You're going to help take care of this child.
Because the fact of the matter is child support will cost a whole lot more.
Yeah, I want to give a wake-up call to some dads that are thinking that maybe they're not paying enough, or maybe they're paying too much. My ex-husband paid $500 per month per child in the state of Idaho. And Idaho was not the highest state per diem. So if you think you're paying a lot now, you're paying a lot less than you would in child support. So I want you to really think about that. That is sad that I would even have to say that. And I hope a lot of you are watching this and going, you know what, that doesn't affect me, but I just like to look at Melissa and Eric because they're silly. So I really hope that most of the people that we're talking to are just hearing this and thinking, I'm so glad that's not us. But honestly, it's a lot. I would say it's probably 30 to 40% of the families we work with. And so it's a huge number, and it's a sad number to me. Because the other thing is your kids know you're fighting about money. Do you want to raise them in that? Do you want to give them that stigma that that's what mom and dad fight about is money? We've had tough times. We've had really tough times. Oh my goodness. I think about it sometimes. I go, I don't know how we made it that month, but we did. Still have a roof over our head. And we've had times when we've overspent. And never once has the conversation gone to, well, you need to go get a job. Never once. What the conversation has come to is, what can we do together that can fix this? What things?
Sometimes it involves selling things.
Sometimes it does. Sometimes we've sold things that we didn't want to sell. Mm-hmm. But it was for the betterment of the family. Everybody, everybody benefited in the end. And there have been months when he's been the one that's done the selling, and months that I've been the one who's done the selling. And, I think that's really what being in a partnership is all about. It's not about, oh no, you need to go out and get a job. It's about, how can we fix this? And sometimes you can't fix it without somebody else going out and getting more income. And I totally get that. But don't utilize that as a way to punish either one of each other.
That word punish.
The word punish, that's what it feels like. It feels like, well, you go out, if you really want to spend money, you better go out and get a job. That sort of sounds like something a parent says to a child, is not something a partner says to somebody that they love and somebody that they're in love with. It's a how do we work on this together? So, maybe you're wanting to try to pay off some extra debt. And so one of you is picking up an extra job or some extra shifts in your job. Or maybe you're starting your own business. I mean, that's one thing that we sort of laugh about a lot. I couldn't work for somebody ever again. I don't think ever. I think I'm too opinionated. He's too opinionated. I just don't think it would work. But if we had to, we'd figure it out. And that sort of, but we'd figure it out together. It wouldn't be, hey, you need to get off your lazy butt and go do something. Or hey, you better throw those kids in school so that you can go out and get a job. Or whatever the conversation, it wouldn't happen. Because we love each other too much. We want things to work. We want there to be compromise. We want there to be love between us and love in our home. And so the thought of treating another one that way, it just doesn't cross our mind.
No.
And if you're in that spot, I'm really sad for you. I want to encourage husbands and wives. I'm not picking on husbands. I'm not picking on wives here. If you and your partner are in this spot, I would really like for you to drop us a note, me a note, Eric a note, and say, hey, we're really struggling with this. How do we get out of this dynamic? Because we don't want to be in this dynamic.
Yeah.
So that's what we wanted to talk about tonight. I hope that it gives you some food for thought, and that, maybe you can think about changing some things and, really being in love with each other, not just loving each other, and having a good time together, because that's really, at the end of the day, our kids are asleep. I just want to be with this person. So I hope you guys are doing well. We love you, and we hope you're doing a great job. And if you need us, please drop us a note. So,
Yep.
bye now.
Bye.